Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijanavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Prajanarajana Yashodanandana Prajanarajana Yamunati Ravanachari Yamunati Ravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijanavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Prajanarajana Yashodanandana Prajanarajana Yamunati Ravanachari Yamunati Ravanachari Yamunati Ravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada ki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
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 Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamadiraye Nasta Presha Bhadresha Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavata Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki. Before reciting the Shloka, we should offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana Rishi, the Superperson, unto Manasa Svati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Rasati, for regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam. By rendering a service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. Loving service unto the personality of God is praise the constant song, established and immovable fact. All right, so we're reading from Canto 3. We're going to start a new chapter, chapter 30. And the title of this chapter is Description by Lord Kapila of Adverse Fruitive Activities. So, as the title suggests, it's a rather heavy chapter, and he talks about how if one is just simply busy in material life and what that's like. And so we're going to read 18 verses, and in these 18 verses, he summarizes the life of a person who just is busy with, just engrossed completely, which is practically most of human population, engrossed with just living a life, running a household, and then and dying. That's the last verse he talks about. Right. And so, what I would like you to do is just pay attention to the verses, just the progression of how Kapila speaks about a person's journey. So that, like, I should have done a Brahmatit and have a video. I think there's this video of a woman giving birth to a kid, and then the kid flies out. It's an ad, I think, or something. It flies out the window, and as he's flying out, he goes to different stages of life, and then he lands in a coffin. Yeah, so just show that life just goes by, and but yeah, it's true. That's kind of what a couple of them talks about, really. How that can just go by so fast. And so as we go through it, just think about it. What couple of them is stressing on, and what would you do differently based on the picture couple of them is about to paint. Just think, think about it as we go through the translation. What would you do? What would your takeaway be after his description of adverse fruitive activities, a life full of it? And what would you do differently? All right, let's read the translations. So the text 1, the personality of God had said, mass of clouds does not know the powerful influence of the wind. A person engaged in material consciousness does not know the powerful strength of the time factor by which he is carried.
Whatever is produced by the materialist with great pain and labor for so-called the Supreme Personality as the time factor destroys, and for this reason the conditioned soul laments.
The misguided materialist does not know that his very body is impermanent, and that the attraction of home, land, and wealth, which are in relationship to that body, are also temporary. Out of ignorance only, he thinks that everything is permanent.
The living entity, in whatever species of life he appears, finds a particular type of satisfaction in that species, and he is never averse to being situated in such a condition.
I remember listening to a lecture by Ranat Maharaj years ago, and Maharaj was making the point for the female rat, the male rat is just so enticing. For us, we look at a cockroach and a rat, like, disgusting. But for a male rat, that Mataji rat, so much fun. So yeah, any species of life, they have Prabhupada makes the point, find a particular type of satisfaction in that species. Yeah, in each yoni, in each species. So yeah, Maharaj makes that point. And Prabhupada makes that point also that, there's all kinds of enjoyment in different species of life. Different species enjoy different ways. Yeah, basically eating, mating, sleeping, and defending, but sometimes there's particular ways they enjoy. All right, so our next verse, text 5, I believe. Yeah.
The conditioned personality is satisfied in his own particular species of life. While deluded by the colored influence of the illusory imagination, he feels little inclined to cast off his body, even when in hell, for he takes delight in hellish enjoyment.
Such satisfaction with one standard of living is due to deep-rooted attraction for body, wife, home, children, animals, wealth, and friends. In such association, the conditioned soul thinks himself quite perfect.
Although he is always burning with anxiety, such a fool always performs all kinds of mischievous activities with a hope which is never to be fulfilled in order to maintain his so-called family and society.
He gives his heart and senses to his woman, impulsively charms and defile, enjoys solitary embraces and talking with her, and he is enchanted by the sweet words of small children.
The attached householder remains in his family life, which is full of diplomacy and politics, always spreading miseries and controlled by acts of sense gratification. He acts just to counteract the reactions of all his miseries. And if he can successfully counteract those miseries, he thinks that he is happy.
He secures money by committing violence here and there, and although he employs it in the service of his family, he himself eats only a little portion of the food thus purchased, and he goes to hell for those for whom he earned the money in such an irregular way.
When he suffers reversely in his occupation, he tries again and again to improve himself. But when he is baffled in all attempts and is ruined, he accepts money from others because of excessive.
Thus, the unfortunate man, unsuccessful in maintaining his family members, is bereft of all beauty. He always thinks of his failure, grieving very deeply.
Seeing him unable to support them, his wife and others do not treat him with the same respect as before. Even as miserly farmers do not accord the same treatment to their old and worn out oxen.
The foolish family man does not become averse to family life, although he is maintained by those whom he once maintained. Deformed by the influence of old age, he prepares himself to meet ultimate death.
Thus, he remains at home just like a pet dog, and eats whatever is so negligently given to them, afflicted with many illnesses such as
Dyspepsia.
dyspepsia, thank you, and loss of appetite. He eats only very small morsels of food, and he becomes an invalid who cannot work here.
Next person.
In that disease condition, one's eyes bulge due to the presence of air from within, and his glands become congested as mucus. He has difficulty breathing, and upon exhaling and inhaling, he produces a sound like gura gura, a rattling within the throat.
In this way, he comes under the clutches of death and lies down, surrounded by laminating friends and relatives. And although he wants to speak with them, he no longer can because he is under the control of time.
Thus, a man who engaged with uncontrolled senses in maintaining a family dies in great grief. Seeing his relatives crying, he dies most pathetically in great pain and without consciousness.
Right. So yeah, this is the average journey of one's life, and Bhagavatam is Bhagavatam. Well, this can be, not necessarily all the time. And Bhagavatam stresses so much on this in this section. A couple of them when he really drives it home. Here and later sections also. A couple of them really bashes attachment to opposite sex. There's a section in this canto where he talks about how he just talks about how attachment to the opposite sex really sends you to hell. And true story, Bhagavatam. Prabhupada in the purport also, tries to drive that point home. And he makes a point, and those verses were really heavy. And I remember reading it years ago, and just like it was really disturbing. It's like, why does it have to be this heavy? We get the point. And Prabhupada also makes a point that he gives an example that back in India, he says back in the day, which must be really back in the day because he's saying back in the day. Like back in the day, he said that women would live in the center of the compound of a home, and the men would be like in the periphery. And I was like, I've never heard that growing up in India, where that arrangement. I've never heard that from my grandparents, and I remember asking my mentors, like, what is all this about? Why is Prabhupada just drilling this so much? And my mentors told me, well, because the Bhagavatam at this point is drilling this point so much. Hence, Prabhupada also often does that he drills a point a lot, given the context. And so sometimes we read all these heavy verses and even more heavy verses probably coming up in this canto, and we might think, and it's been done well-meaning devotees where they think, well, this is it, we just gotta be fanatics and stick to this, and no sex life, and the opposite sex is Maya. Well, Mataji's a Maya, women are Maya, and this, and I'm going to be a brahmachari for all my life. And next week, they ran away with the yoga teacher or something. But yeah, so that's what happens when you're focused on one time. But the point of the Bhagavatam is like it's drilling a point at different point in time. And so we should take it and internalize it, but not be complete fanatics about it. And so there will be, the Bhagavatam is heavy about family life, and it is heavy. Well, why do you think the Bhagavatam in general is really heavy on family life in different parts and sections? What do you think? That's for.
It's one of the strongest attachment.
Yeah.
And it really solidifies an identity.
Yeah. Anything we do in our life, any situation we are in, we identify with it, right? Yeah. And what are some other things that we normally identify with? Your work, yeah, the work we do, the service that we do. What else? Country, the place you're from, right?
Things.
Yeah. Was it?
Things like
Things,
our belongings.
yeah. Cars, people are attached to their cars. Wealth, yeah, their wealth, their status, their house. Yeah, education degree, yeah, that's a big one. There was that? Personality, yeah. There was the education. I remember I was in a meeting once, and there was this one person who was introducing themselves to us, and it was a contractor and was trying to sell us something. And I think in that call, he mentioned 10 times that he went to Cornell. Yes. He really wanted to make sure we knew that he went to Cornell. And so the education people are really attached to their Cornell degrees and whatever else. And yeah, what else? Almost 10 times, if not less or more. But yeah, it was enough times that we noticed it. What else? Yes, bro.
I come from the very high family.
Yeah. High birth, right?
My great-grandfather was Rockefeller's uncle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not me.
What's that? That's not you. Oh, the Rockefellers aren't Croatians? But yeah, from high birth, right? And so these are the various things one can really identify themselves with. And just like that identity can be lost, can be gone. The wealth can be lost, and the fame can be lost, or your job can be gone. I remember reading about this one astronaut. He was from the Soviet Union, and he was up in the space at the time when Soviet Union dissolved. And so he was, hundreds and thousands of miles away from planet Earth. And here he was, at that point in time, he was he was not a citizen of his country, dissolved. It's like the nation he belonged to didn't exist. So they told him, stay up there while we sort this out. Don't come back yet. We don't. Yeah, his passport was invalid. You don't have a country to come back to. The Soviet Union dissolved, and so they had to, be up there for some more time while they figured out, okay, when you come back, we can let you in.
There's a film of Tom Hanks.
Yeah, there's that one too. Yeah, he was in an airport, and the country. I mean, that's a real story too. That movie based on a real story. The country got, it was probably Yugoslavia or something. It dissolved. It just was no more. So all of a sudden you have this piece of paper, right, the passport that shows you I am such and from such and such nation, and it can happen that the country just doesn't exist the next day, and then all of a sudden you're stateless, and it happens to a decent number of people actually in this world. People are just they have no state. And so we have so much faith that yes, in countries, people, an average person has so much faith that this is something that's permanent, it's going to be there. Another one was a personal example where in 2016 the Indian government decided that they're going to do demonetization. So they said that the old bills won't be valid anymore, and come to the bank and exchange it for the new bills. And that's all good for all the people in India. What about the people who are in the West? And my mother had given me a good amount of money. How much was it? It was like $1,000 or so, but in Indian bills. And I couldn't exchange it. I still have those $1,000 in Indian bills and old bills. It's illegal to carry that tender, but what do I do with it? So all of a sudden it became zero. It was $1,000, or how much was that in rupees? About 1 lakh, 100,000 rupees. It was 100,000 rupees. Don't tell my mom; she'll be so upset. And I never told her. But it's all of a sudden it became zero. I tried to send it back to India, it didn't work. But what's that? That's all right. What's
You're going to probably say, just play this. It's an Xbox ad about
all right.
short.
All right. Oh, that one. Yeah. Yeah. That was the ad. Yeah. Maybe we can play it. Go ahead.
It's an Xbox.
Yes. I see. But all of a sudden, all the money that I had was worthless. It was even illegal per se. So all of we put our faith in so many things, and then all of a sudden it could be gone. All right. So let's see the life. The ad about life is short. Play more. Okay. You got everything right except the last thing. Yes, play more. Play more kirtan. There you go. You got to change it. Play more kirtan. Yeah. Even yesterday, when Krishna Abhishek was making that point that we gamble away our time. One can gamble away our time, right? And so for the average populace, everybody is. There's propaganda. Prabhupada says there's a propaganda, right? Well, you gotta go to school, you gotta go to college, you gotta do this, you gotta have a family, you gotta raise your family, and that's all and good. But just in the blink of an eye, life can go by, and the goal of human life, and even with regular people, like they feel it. They feel it. Like, what's the point of this life? A lot of them feel that for sure, and then they find different ways of giving some meaning to their life, and sometimes people find ways in mode of goodness, so they want to do more charitable work, or they want to help other people, which is nice. And it's better than mode of passion, ignorance. But ultimately, it's like And even Krishna says that. In the Bhagavad Gita, he says different things. He says, worship me with all your love. If you can't do it, follow the rules and regulations of Bhakti Yoga. If you can't do that, then do your varnas and the prescribed duties. If you can't do all that, if you can't do all that, he finally says, if you can't do any of it, at least help somebody else. Like at least, don't just think about yourself. And so he says, finally, at least do that. So some people come to that point, like at least let me help somebody else. And people, deep down, people can feel that life is just not about, just like this video, from birth to death. Yeah, yes, Brent.
I know for me, it can almost be easy to forget the existential dread that I carried before I found Christian consciousness.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of people carry that actually, and oftentimes when it's it's unresolved, and it can lead to depression. It can lead to so many things, and people are just not happy in life because deep down they understand.
Lord Kapila is reminding us, refreshing us of the existential dread.
Exactly. Yeah. Kapila that is reminding. Yeah, don't just go from. Oh, there was a class somebody gave once, and they named it after this. They call it from womb to tomb. Very creative. Yeah, from womb to tomb. So, yeah. But yeah, that's Kapila Dev's point, and that's why the Bhagavatam is so heavy about it, because sometimes we just need a jolt, and sometimes we get jolts in our lives, and we realize like, oh, actually, there's more to life than just going through it mindlessly. And did you all hear yesterday? Mark Zuckerberg was asked to come in front of the Senate, and he was grilled. I think it was the Senate or maybe some committee, and he was grilled about Instagram and social media, and he was grilled about, have you designed it in such a way that it's addictive? And I was appreciative that actually some people up there actually thought about that question and actually got a CEO to come and answer. And if you've ever seen those hearings when they call somebody, it's pretty grilling. Like they grill you, And so they grill them, and I haven't watched the video yet, but they asked them, and I thought that's a good question because anything that materialism creates that just really absorbs us away from living a mindful life, takes us away from the goal of human form of life. And not to bash on Mr. Zuckerberg and Instagram, but as a principle, that is a good question that they ask. Like, have you designed it in a way that this is addictive? And so the material world is designed in such a way that it can be addictive. That living a materialistic life can be addictive, and living a life where you forget the goal of life. There's plenty in this material realm that it provides us that, and so yeah, we want to see what are the things that we do to ignore our human form, our goal for human life. And the Bhagavatam really hits it. He really says that no, this can be a major distraction if you don't do it with the right intention. If you do it with an intention of serving Krishna and going back to God, then it can be used in service, which we'll read in the Prabhupada makes that point. But if you just go about it and do it based on your karma, based on how much wealth and money you're supposed to get, and you just live through it, then you'll just be in repeat. You'll just do it over and over and over again. And so that's why the Bhagavatam is so heavy, and that's why sometimes the acharyas, the teachers, are just so heavy. Like, wake up. This is not the goal of life. Your goal of life is to really realize who Krishna is, our relationship with him. And one can still have a career. One can still, one need not renounce everything. And Lord Chaitanya showed that by example. He showed it to, the instructions he gave to, I think it was South India. There was a grihastha just wanted to quit everything and go with Lord Chaitanya. He said, no, you stay where you are. You preach. You just preach wherever you are. And you share Krishna consciousness with others. And so, wherever we are, whatever stage we are in, we can do that. And, very, very, sometimes people, especially in this kind of early days, people read this kind of sections of Bhagavatam and be like, well, we must stay single, we must stay brahmachari, take sannyas and so forth. And that's how you can go back to Godhead. And the reality is very tiny percentage of people really, well, firstly, a tiny percentage actually take up Krishna consciousness. And out of that, a very tiny percentage actually have the demeanor and the proclivity to be a lifelong celibate, monk, and so forth. That's true.
I wondered if maybe you could speak for a moment about why it's so important to have someone guiding us or instructing us through the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Because when we get to some verses like this, it can be a really big struggle to figure out how to best apply them to our own practice.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, we want to, and that's why we need mentors who have gone through those phases in ISKCON where everybody was super fanatic about, just paying single and so forth. And the thing is, it's good to have that phase in our life for sure. And do we continue it or not? That's really needs to be consulted with our mentors, as you were saying. Yeah, it's just so important. Yeah, because Bhagavatam, the Krishna consciousness is not just. It's not just a book that you read. It's not just a manual where your chemistry book. Take chemical A and B and you mix it and you really have to seek a person who has lived it. And so when you seek a person like that, then they'll share their realizations. They'll share by their example also. It's not just something you copy and paste. You can't just do that. Even the Bhagavatam itself it's a living being. It's the Supreme Personality, Godhead. So many times when we read the Bhagavatam, different things stand out to us. The Bhagavatam speaks to us. So yeah, it's all very personal. But yeah, it's super important to have mentors who have an experience in their life, who have lived through it, made mistakes, seen other people make mistakes, and learn from it, and then can give their knowledge. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. But yeah. So yeah, sometimes one can be a bit fanatic, but actually one needs to realize that one should be honest with themselves, and not just that. It's not like, oh well, I guess I can't be sannyasi next week. But no, just be happy in Krishna consciousness, and the main thing is hearing and chanting. Whatever position we are in, the more we can increase our hearing and chanting, that should be our intense greed. As the Nectar Devotion says, one should have lolium, intense greed. That is the price for devotional service. That is the price for prema, for love of God. One needs to cultivate that intense greed. And the Goswamis, they also had that same mood. They never went around saying, I'm self-realized. I'm pretty good. They went around asking, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? They would go. And of course they had Krishna. Of course they did. But that was their, and they had it because they had that intense mood. Like, where is Krishna? Where is, how can I grow in my spiritual life? How can I do more? How can I serve Krishna more with that intensity? So when we are able to feel that intensity in any position of life, then Krishna comes in our heart. Krishna really demands that intensity. He does. And sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's easy. And but yeah, Krishna is, love for Krishna is an intense thing, not in a negative sense, but it just is. It's just intense. When you read about the Bhagavatam, you read about the devotees and the residents of Vrindavan. When you hear Nanda and Yashoda's love for Krishna, it's intense. The amount of love they have for Krishna is just intense. When Uddhava came back from when Krishna asked Uddhava to go back to Vrindavan and see all the Brajavana residents of Vrindavan, he saw them. He saw Maharaj Nanda and Yashoda. They just cried. They were just crying since Krishna had left, and then almost cried themselves to the point of being blind. They cried so much. So their love was so intense, and so our love for Krishna is intense.
You gotta want it.
You gotta want it, yeah. And the beauty of it is that Lord Chaitanya has made it so simple for us. Just chant Hare Krishna, and even if we have a heart that is stone-hearted, and it's like a stone, like a steel cage, little by little it softens, and that love for Krishna awakens little by little. And yeah, the more we give ourselves to Krishna, the more Krishna will give to us. And so it takes time, but Krishna knows how to chip away our stone-like heart. So it just takes time, and sometimes it feels like forever. But when you look back, few months ago or a year ago or a few years ago, and you look back, you're like, oh yeah, I have grown so much. My heart has become so much softer for Krishna, and it takes time. Prabhupada said, somebody asked him, Charu Prabhu asked him, how long does it take, Prabhupada? How many years of japa to become a pure devotee? I think something to that extent, he asked. And Prabhupada said 40 years. So yeah, it takes a bit of a time. And it takes a bit of a time. But it does work, Krishna does work on our heart over time. And so, yeah, we can live our life mindlessly, or at least not being mindful about the goal of life, as Kapila Dev is warning about it. Or we can do the same exact things that every other person does out there. We can do the same exact things, but with a different intent, with a different mood. With sadhana, with hearing and chanting in our lives. Everybody does hearing and chanting. When people wake up, what do? They hear the news. Then they talk about stuff. What is that? It's hearing and chanting. They have their own Bhagavatam class.
Birds do.
The birds do, yeah. There's that verse in the first one. Yeah, they do. Yeah, the birds do. Everybody does. They have their hearing and chanting. It's just a different shape and form. And okay. Let's go to the verse and the purport. Because Prabhupada talks about it briefly. This is text 3, chapter 30. Yad adruvasya dehasya sanu bandasya durma Gavani manyate moha Viha chitra vasunicha. Let's do the word to it together. Yet because adruvasya, temporary, dehasya, of the body, sa anubandasya, with that which is related, durmati, a misguided person, druvani, permanent, manyate, thinks, mohat, because of ignorance, viha, home, chetra, land, vasuni, wealth, cha, and translation, the misguided material together. Misguided materialist does not know that his very body is impermanent, and that the attractions of home, land, and wealth, which are in relationship to that body, are also temporary. Out of ignorance only, he thinks that everything is permanent. Who'd like to read the purport? Go ahead, Natana.
The materialist thinks that persons engaged in Krishna consciousness are crazy fellows wasting time by chanting Hare Krishna, but actually he does not know that he himself is in the darkest region of craziness because of accepting his body as permanent. And in relation to his body, he accepts his home, his country, his society, and all other paraphernalia as permanent. This materialistic acceptance of the permanency of home, land, etc. is called the illusion of Maya. This is clearly mentioned here. Moha Griha Kshetra Vasuni. Out of illusion, only does the materialist accept his home, his land, and his money as permanent. Out of this illusion, the family life, national life, and economic development, which are very important factors in modern civilization, have grown. A Krishna-conscious person knows that this economic development of human society is but temporary illusion. In another part of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the acceptance of the body as oneself, the acceptance of others as kinsmen in relationship to this body, and the acceptance of the land as one's birth as land of one's birth as worshipable are declared to be the products of the animal civilization. When, however, one is enlightened in Krishna consciousness, he can use these for the service of the Lord. That is a very suitable proposition. Everything has a relationship with Krishna. When all economic development and material advancement are utilized to advance the cause of Krishna consciousness, a new phase of progressive life arises.
So all these verses in this purport. So what do you think would be your takeaway? What can you do differently in life? As Kapila Dev is warning, different than that's what in the purport too. What would you do differently? How can you really use economic development and material advancement for the cause of Krishna consciousness? Or improve? I'm doing it right now. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, bro.
So I think any person or any should be live a minimalistic life, giving everything to the God. It's not meaning that everything given. So it means you need to be aspire for only the limited things what you can sustain your body. That's it. And rest of the things you should give to the God.
Yeah. It's like really not over endeavoring to gain enormous amounts of wealth and living peacefully. And and if you have extra, just use it in Krishna service. Yeah. All right. What else? Anything else? Yeah, Narada Manipura.
Most people live their life with goals of just accumulating wealth and trying to enjoy some facts. And how to do those things in Krishna consciousness, you just learn it's attached. So you're not living for the Lamborghini.
Yeah. The Lamborghini. Yeah. You have something? Yeah. Kunti and then Brandon.
Similar to Narada, I was thinking, like, as long as you use your propensity for a higher purpose.
Yeah.
Because some people, for some reason, like, it's some people's nature to want to, mention, the huge, wealthy material life. And I don't think that's bad if they use it to, take care of the birdies, have great events, and feed and prashadam and things like that. I know family myself that are super rich, and that's how they use their wealth. But then there's also other people that are a little different. It's like they prefer something smaller and whatever, and they just use it for Krishna.
Yeah. Brandon Pro.
Yeah, I would say for me, it would be just to have my priorities straight, to know what, matters the most, and to make sure that I don't let the material, as I do gain material things, I don't let that cloud my consciousness, so I still stay focused on Krishna. Because eventually a lot of us are going to move on from this style of life and maybe go into household, and so basically maintaining that consciousness of Krishna consciousness, and then just making sure priorities are always straight, that Krishna comes first, and then you, like Kunti was saying, using your material things in a way that can actually be for Krishna's pleasure.
Yeah.
Just about difficult passages in general, but just keep reading because it's very encouraging also.
But Donald?
Yeah, just right in the nectar of instruction that we should give 50% of what we receive to the movement, to the conscious movement. And I can't remember where he said 25 and keep 20%, but I think the whole point in that being said in the book is to keep your focus absorbed in Krishna by keeping your life simple.
Yeah.
And so you won't get wrapped up and entrapped in the materialistic world and the desires of the materialistic nature of the human.
Yeah. Get carried away with it. Yes, ma'am.
I was thinking too about how in some families people actually become very obsessed with their impoverishment. Certain families become very obsessed with the fact that they're doing without and they're poor, and then the children grow up in that mindset, and then it just becomes a mindset of doing without. And if we're doing it out of material consciousness, then we're just attracting that more and more. And I was just thinking about that in reference to families that have a lot of wealth. Is that there are also families who they just become really trapped in doing without and become discouraged by that. And instead of feeling that Krishna is providing me with what I need in this moment, and I don't know what's to come. And if I continue to endeavor, perhaps it will change and perhaps not. But either way, I'll continue to offer my food to Krishna, and I'll continue chanting. And that's just me coming from also living in an ashram and a temple for many years and not having a lot, and trying to realize that it's in Krishna's timing, whether we have a lot of material things to offer to him or not.
he's setting us up for service.
Yeah, whatever wealth we're destined to have, it will come or not come, as it's destined, and as Krishna wants, especially as devotees. You know, if Krishna wants to send wealth, it will come. You know, if Krishna thinks, okay, this is enough for your maintenance, then that's what will come. And yeah, our goal should be just whatever comes, we just use it judiciously in Krishna service. You know, and that's the beauty of Krishna consciousness, where yeah, as a grihastha, you can have your own house, you can have your deities, you can have, you know, you offer prasad, you offer food to Krishna and so forth, you invite the devotees, and there's so many ways one can serve Krishna. And yeah, and just, you know, and that's the good thing about being in an ashram before, you know, moving on to household life, where you do full-time service, you have that taste for pushing the mission, and then that can be in your heart for the rest of your life. You know, you can always remember, like, yes, that's the goal of life, to really, because it's Prabhupada's mission, and also it's Krishna's will. It's Krishna's will that everybody goes back. He got it. So to be connected with that it's such a blessing. And so if one is fortunate enough to be able to do that, you know, then they can carry it in their hearts. You know, we can carry Vrindavan in our hearts anywhere and everywhere. That's what Prabhupada, you know, he brought Vrindavan to the West. He brought the mood of Vrindavan. He brought the mood of Lord Chaitanya, the mood of the gopis, where their mood is to engage everyone, every you know, Tom, Dick, and Harry, and Krishna service. You know, just engage everybody. You can serve Krishna. You can serve Krishna. And so that's their mood. And so Prabhupada brought that mood. And when we have that mood, you know, then we automatically bring Vrindavan, even in Gainesville, Florida. So yeah, and when we do that service, even for a little bit, we can have that in our hearts and carry on with, you know, and when we get a job and so forth, that mood will be there. That yeah, somehow the other I can share Krishna with others. Somehow the other I can help in Prabhupada's mission. I can serve Krishna. And yeah, and you know, there's different phases of life. But if we carry that mood, then you know, Krishna will show how we can do it, and at different stages of life. And so yeah, a household life can be extremely entangling, and that's what most people in this world are entangled with. You know, first they have kids, and they have grandkids, and so forth. They're all entangled with it. But the antidote is, well, while we're in these different stages of life, how do we always do the hearing and chanting? How do we remember Krishna? And when and you know, and whatever work one does, be it in grihastha life or in house and in brahmachari life, or you know, whatever service one does, one should really see that, okay, this is the service that Krishna has given me right now, you know, and this is the amount of resources Krishna has given me right now. Everything is coming from Krishna, be it, you know, living in a temple, be it living outside, you know, whatever it is, you know, wherever the resources come from, it all comes from Krishna actually. And when one has that vision, then one is peaceful actually. But then one doesn't just depend on, like, oh, you know, I have to depend on this one company that pays me and so forth. One really sees that, okay, everything is coming from Krishna. Every lesson is coming from Krishna. Every single penny is coming from Krishna. And I'll try my best to use it in Krishna's service and maintain myself and the family so that we can serve Krishna in different ways. But yeah, so that's why the Bhagavatam is just so heavy about it, that one shouldn't just get totally engrossed in, you know, just eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, because otherwise it'll just keep the cycle going on and on. And it's so much more fun actually, living a life of purpose, living a life where we know what the goal of human life is. So wouldn't you say it's so much more meaningful? A lot of you join Krishna consciousness. Who's second gen? Very few actually. 20, yeah. Anyone else? Or yeah, I don't know, Tana. And yeah, we'll see. But yeah, but a lot. Was that?
No, was it still the same question?
Oh, what was the question? I forgot the question. Go ahead.
I was just thinking that we sometimes think money is bad.
Oh, yeah.
And money is Maya.
Mm-hmm.
And anything that's not in the Krishna house, not like within our devotional activity in the temple, is like Maya.
Yeah.
That's how I was told when I first came into the movement, to be honest. Like, you know, the ashram is trained like that.
Yeah.
But then I kind of like started to question that. And then I realized, like, well, not just me, of course, like all Vaishnavas know, but wealth is in itself bad. Instead of thinking that's Maya, we can think that's Krishna's wealth. Not just as in, oh yeah, that's Krishna's wealth, but like that actually is Krishna's energy. So we need to really, we just treasure it, and we need not to like hold on to it. We're willing to give away. I heard this phrase that earn with 100 hands and give away with 1,000. So wealth is good. Like Raghunath Das Goswami hosted the Panihati festival before he became a renunciate, and for the Nityananda Prabhu's entire cohort. And and even today we're still celebrating Panihati. And Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Canto brought everybody to see Mahaprabhu like every single year. And if we don't have that, and if nobody had that wealth, then all the devotees would be stuck in our leap. So it is very, very useful. It's kind of that like a mentality. Instead of thinking that it's Maya and we just reject it, we just think that is a very important energy that we utilize towards service, as well as like family position, whatever it is.
It can all be used in Krishna services. That's right.
In our neophyte stage, we should be trained that money is Maya, because when we come from a materialistic society, there needs to be a gross understanding that this is like not what we're doing, which is not the purpose of life. So in the beginning, when we first come to the ashram, we're just like just doing materialistic things. Generally, we should be trained that money isn't everything. Money is Maya. And then when we make advancement, we can think like how she thinks, how we're discussing today, that money can be used in Krishna's service. Everything can be made spiritual. Actually, nothing is material. Everything is spiritual. It just needs to be, needs to be dubbed. Everything needs to be brought to Krishna. Something needs to be brought back to Rama.
When one joins the ashram, there has to be some heavy brainwashing, and we normally put people in the brainwashing machine in the back. And it's true. It's like from the brain and tell them, just gotta, at least for the time being, cut it off.
It's not really brainwashing. It's just for the sake of understanding. You can't just jump to the point where because you don't really understand if you come from a society. Oh, I'm going to give everything to the deity, but I don't even know who that is.
Exactly. That's true.
I wonder, maybe to counter that point, that when we teach people these very extreme thought processes without nuance, it becomes very easy to control people.
Wow.
When we teach you, give everything to us, we know what to do with it, and you don't know, then it's a lot easier to take everything.
There's a 4-letter word for that. It's called.
And a cult is very nuanced. And I think that's when, as we're making advancement, we start to see that we're actually existing in this grayish blue area between black and white. The material world is this sword, and we're on the edge of it. But if we don't teach young people and young devotees that actually everything is very nuanced. Nothing is completely Maya. Everything is mixed in this material world. The gunas, it's always mixed, even for the devotees. And so we don't teach them that. It's so easy to tell them, you are in Maya. Everything you think, everything you do is Maya. And then you're so far away from Krishna because you think you're associating always with Maya. But actually, it's Krishna. And we have to listen so closely because she's like this pesky younger sister who, when Krishna is telling us something, she picks up the other line in the house. And she tells you a little something in your ear. And you think, oh, this is Krishna. But it's not, it's his friend tricking you. And we have to have mentors that we can go to and say, hey, I'm living in the ashram and I was having a discussion with so-and-so and they said this, and what do you think? It has to be, like we said earlier, someone we trust. So that even if that's what's being taught to us, we have some distinction between what is Krishna and what is Maya.
Nuance should always be there. Yeah, initially when we joined the ashram, yeah, there's a strong cutoff for, cut your previous habits and so forth. But yeah, very sooner or later, we have to come to a good understanding also how everything can be used in Krishna service. And that's why ashram brahmachari life is good. Initially you just focus on service, sadhana, and simplicity. Don't think about paying the bills and all that. Like, all right, let's do it later. Soon, very soon, we'll do it. And brings a certain amount of detachment. And then when you have some understanding, like, okay, everything can be used in Krishna service, then with the sense of responsibility one can go to the next step. All right, I see so many hands, and it's 8:35. All right, Advaita Prabhu, and then Kunti, and then Narada. That's all right.
I had a quick one. Really quick.
Wait.
Following up on hers.
Oh, okay.
It's like to be lost. It's not, where was the thought? I was completely, I forgot about it. What? Never mind.
That must be Krishna's arrangement. Everything is Krishna's arrangement. He's zapping it from back.
I'm jamming this. I just couldn't resist in terms of money being Maya. It is nuanced, but it's also very clear from the very beginning that it's not Maya, it's just Lakshmi.
Mm-hmm.
And either you know where Lakshmi belongs or you don't. So if you don't, that is Maya.
Mm-hmm.
It is not that money is Maya.
Yep.
It is your lack of understanding where Lakshmi belongs.
Yeah, it's like using Lakshmi separate from Krishna, using Lakshmi, the idea of using Lakshmi just for our gratification to get a place, to get to be blunt, get a girlfriend, and just using Lakshmi for that purpose, then that is illusion. But using Lakshmi to serve Krishna in a sustainable way, in a very sustainable and healthy way, in a long-term process, then that's of course not Maya.
And that same way extends to the other ladies. They're not from me, they're Christians.
Oh, yes, yeah. Everything is from Krishna's enjoyment. Yeah. All right, Kunti. Did you have one?
I really like that point. I really do. And also, I was just thinking that, from what I've seen growing up in Krishna consciousness and seeing different types of communities, it's really hard to destroy foundations. So we have materialistic foundations in the beginning, and then if you destroy it to put fanatical cult foundations instead, then that's another layer of foundations that you have to destroy before you actually start to understand what Bhakti really is. I personally think that if your foundations are built in Bhakti from the start in a healthy perspective, you can advance much quicker than if you put another layer of misunderstanding and have to destroy it again. It's okay, when a child grows up, even if you explain to your child or things that they don't understand from the start, because you're building that foundation over time, they become a really mature and well-rounded person. But if you're oh, that child is stupid, let me just start with the most basic things, then they're not gonna mature up as much,
Yeah. When you raise a child with a lot of love and care, and give them love, then give them a good foundation, then they'll grow up to be a holistic person. All right, last point, Narada.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I've heard before that fanaticism is needed in the beginning. I've never felt that way. I don't really think that's super congruent with the Krishna house model either. I think this is a gradual process. And for me, I lived in the ashram 7 months before I ever put on a dhoti. I gradually made my shifts, and I think that's healthier. I think it prevents us from having people who shave up all the way and do everything, and then 6 months later they're gone, because it was never, the foundation wasn't solid.
Yeah. Giving a solid foundation is super important in Krishna consciousness. And just having a good understanding, what is Maya, and we push for staying in the ashram for as long as you can. And it's good if people would like to stay in ashram for as long as they can. There's no loss really, And before they move on, it is good to have a healthy foundation in so many ways, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, health-wise. So that's when somebody is ready to graduate from ashram life. So, yeah. All right, a lot of good discussion. Thank you so much, Bruce, for your points. Hare Krishna. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai.